put that there for me, but I don't think I'd get up off that if if I tried to sit down on it. So today is is this echoing a little bit? Is it all right down there? Today is the 1st of December, if you didn't know. The first Sunday in Advent, the day that everybody has to have their tree up. Have you got your tree up? Who hasn't got their Christmas tree up yet? Wow, shame. Who's made their Christmas cakes? I've always had a rule that I make the Christmas cakes before the end of December. Before the end of November. But I didn't even get started till about a week ago, so still got to finish that. Who started Christmas shopping? A few. Who's wrapped all their presents? Wow. We get to be very extravagant at Christmas. Have you noticed that? The world has extravagance in everything we do at Christmas. Who's watched some of the movies? The Christmas movies. And while they're nice, they give you a bit of a laugh sometimes. They give you a fuzzy feeling. But they're all the same, aren't they? It's all about rushing around, buying presents, wrapping presents, putting up trees, going caroling with the fa-la-la-la-la-la songs, and doing all of the things that people expect of Christmas but just make us tired and don't really give us the true meaning of Christmas. So it's all about extravagance. And I want to tell you this morning that Christmas is about the extravagant love of God. That's my title this morning, the extravagant love of God. Not just the love of God, but the extravagant love of God. But if we want to experience that, we have to do a few things first. We have a very loose meaning for love. We love ice cream, don't we, Simi? We love our new dress or our new car. We love the boy or the girl that we've only just started going out with and don't even know them. And we love all kinds of material things. But this is a very loose meaning for love. And today we're thinking about the extravagant love of God that came down at Christmas time. There's a statement that I love that Hans used to use all the time. And it says something like, love is the only thing that can be divided without diminishing. Love is the only thing that can be divided without diminishing. This is God's extravagant love. If we divide it, it multiplies. It goes on and on and on. I just wanted to start this morning with John 3:16. For God so loved the world. For God so loved that he gave. For God so loved that he gave his only Son. This is extravagant love. He gave his only Son. I just want to start by telling you a story that brings me to tears. Maybe it'll do the same for you. It's a story of a little boy called Michael who was 3 years old. Just while I'm telling you the story, I'll have a seat. Michael's mum had a pregnancy that was without any problems at all. And during that pregnancy, she tried to prepare her 3-year-old son for the coming of his new baby sister, as we all do when the second child's coming along. So all through the pregnancy, she talked to him about the little girl, and he would often go and put his hand on his mummy's tummy and he would sing. He would sing to this little baby girl. And so when the time for the birth came, the mother had a very long and difficult labour, and when the baby was born, she struggled to survive. It looked like she wasn't going to make it. She was in the ICU, and Michael kept asking his mum if he could go and see his baby sister, because children aren't allowed in ICU. So day after day, she asked, and it was a rule, no children can come. And still he pestered. He said, I want to sing to her. He obviously didn't know the gravity of the situation, but in his little 3-year-old child heart, he knew he had to sing to his sister. So one day, when it was almost time to say goodbye, the doctors had warned the mum of that, she decided that she was going to go anyway. She was going to stand her ground and get this little boy into ICU. So she dressed him up in some kind of a scrub suit and off they went into the hospital. So the mum had to really creep in past this head nurse who said, what's that child doing in here? Get him out of here. She said, no, he needs to sing to his sister. So he went over to the little girl who was struggling for breath with a racing heart, and he started to sing, you are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are grey. As soon as he sang, the little girl's heart rate started to slow down, started to become normal. And the mother, with tears in her eyes, said, keep singing, Michael. So then he sang, you don't take my sunshine away. What's the next? Some of you will know the second line. What was that? You make me happy when skies are grey. Just forgotten the next line. That's right. You'll never know how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. And as he continued to sing, her ragged breathing became normal. And the mother said, keep singing, Michael, keep singing. By this time, the head nurse had tears in her eyes, and the baby went home the next day. Isn't that just an amazing story of extravagant love? This little boy loved his sister even before she was born so much. And I don't know whether that was the song he sang when she was in utero, but it probably was. And that little girl just responded to the love and the voice of her brother. Love came down at Christmas. The Bible tells us that 3 things will last forever. Pat told you some of the story from 1 Corinthians 13, and I happen to be filling in on the other verses. Isn't God amazing? The Bible tells us that faith, hope, and love will be here forever, but the greatest of these is love. When love came down at Christmas, it showed us that Christmas isn't about all of these trappings and the things that make us tired and the things that have a very shallow kind of love. But Christmas is love personified because God is love. Let's read 1 John 4, 8-10. But anyone who does not love does not know God, for God is love. God showed how much he loved us by sending his one and only Son into the world so that we might have eternal life through him. This is real love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son as a sacrifice to take away our sins. One of the things that I really ponder over a lot, not only at Christmas but through the year, is just how amazing is God's extravagant love that we cannot understand it. We cannot grasp the extremities of his love. The Bible tells us that, we can't understand the height, the depth, the width and everything of God's love, but it's just unattainable for any of us, even though we might try. God's love is extravagant. At Christmas time, we can do Christmas. The world does Christmas. We can be very religious about Christmas and do our usual traditions. If we don't do this particular thing, maybe Great Aunt Flo won't come to Christmas dinner or something like that. We can do Christmas or we can live Christmas. We can live Christmas by keeping our celebrations simple, by sharing and giving sacrificially, loving selflessly, and worshipping our Creator who became like us in order to redeem us. Now I'm going to read to you, and some of you probably have seen this, but I just thought it was really good, from 1 Corinthians 13. This is not a version that we can put up there, although you can put that up now, but I'll read that in a minute. This is a Christmas version that someone has written, and I think it's very apt. If I decorate my house perfectly with plaid bows, strands of twinkling lights and shiny balls, but do not show love to my family, I'm just another decorator. If I slave away in the kitchen, this has been me, baking dozens of Christmas cookies, preparing gourmet meals, and arranging a beautifully adorned table at mealtime, but do not show love to my family, I'm just another cook. If I work at the soup kitchen, carol in the nursing home, and give all that I have to charity, but do not show love to my family, it profits me nothing. If I trim the spruce with shimmering angels and crocheted snowflakes, attend a myriad of holiday parties, and sing in the choir's cantata, but do not focus on those I love the most, I have missed the point. In other words, love stops the cooking to hug a child. Love sets aside the decorating to kiss the spouse. Love is kind even though harried and tired. Love doesn't envy another's home that has coordinated Christmas china and linens. Not at my place. Love doesn't yell at the kids to get out of the way, but is thankful that they are there to be in the way. Love doesn't give only to those who are able to give in return, but rejoices in giving to those who can't. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. Video games will break. Pearl necklaces will be lost. And golf clubs will rust. But the gift of love will endure forever. You like that? So love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. We're just going to read 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7, the verses that Pat left out, obviously for a reason. God already had them here. From the Passion Translation. I don't know whether you're all familiar with the Passion Translation. I haven't used it a lot, but the parts that I have used, I have really, really appreciated. And we're going to read these words from that translation. Love is large and incredibly patient. Love is gentle and consistently kind to all. It refuses to be jealous when blessing comes to someone else. Love does not brag about one's achievements nor inflate its own importance. Love does not traffic in shame and disrespect, nor selfishly seek its own honour. Love is not easily irritated or quick to take offence. Love joyfully celebrates honesty and finds no delight in what is wrong. Love is a safe place of shelter, for it never stops believing the best for others. Love never takes failure as defeat, for it never gives up. Some of the things to think about when we talk about God's extravagant love: it gives, it forgives, it puts others first, it sacrifices, and it never gives up. As I think Pastor Beck said before, last week we went to the nursing home at Riverview, to Riverview Gardens, elderly people's home. How many of you went last week? I look forward to this time every year because to me, this is where we celebrate God's extravagant love. I can't tell you how many times I have been so blessed in the last few years that we've been going by listening to one of the people's stories or by watching them shed a tear as they've told me that a certain sister or a child doesn't talk to them anymore, doesn't come and visit them anymore. or when they delight in hearing the children sing and they start to sing along with the carols, or when we give them a small gift. Last Thursday, I was with one lady when one of the children came to give a gift, and she desperately wanted to give something back. And even though I told her that it wasn't necessary, she had 2 beautiful lace handkerchiefs, as a lot of older people do. My mum used to always carry a beautiful handkerchief with her. And these were handmade. And she said, I want you to have these. So the 2 little ones that were next to me each took a lace hanky. Now, they might not understand what it's for even, and they might not use it for a long time, but if they keep it long enough, it will become a treasured possession that someone gave out of not having very much at all, but it's something precious they gave to these children, and that's extravagant love. So what we try to do when we go to the old people's home, or I'm not allowed to say old people's home, particularly is there are some probably the same age as me there, but it's a beautiful place where we can teach our children that Christmas is about giving. We give our music, we give our smiles, we give our gifts, and most of all, we give our talking and touching, which are 2 things that many of these people don't receive very much of. Probably the staff talk to them a little bit. Some of them might talk to each other, but not a lot of sharing goes on. And who knows how many hugs they get. I don't know if the staffs are allowed to give hugs or what happens there, but talking and touching is so important to them. And as I said before, just listening to their story. I think we know ourselves, don't we, that I know that in the many months and now 5 years since I haven't had my beloved husband, I have so appreciated the gift of a person who allows me to tell my story, particularly in the early days, you know. If someone, instead of avoiding you or think that it might be the wrong thing to ask you something, if they will allow you to tell your story, it's such a precious gift. It's a gift of love. So visiting a nursing home and or even, you know, it doesn't have to be a nursing home, but finding people and bringing them into your world who may not receive these actions of love that I've been talking about. This is one of the most beautiful expressions of the extravagant love that is Emmanuel. Emmanuel, God with us, which is, of course, the theme of Christmas, working through our hands and our feet and our mouths. I think this is one of the important things that we as adults need to remember and we need to teach our children. Emmanuel has come, God with us, showing extravagant love. But the way that, sorry, Suri, but the way that we show extravagant love, the love of God, is through our hands and our feet and our mouths. When we love the Son of God, we receive an inheritance far beyond anything we can hope for or think. Just say that again. When we love the Son of God, we receive an inheritance far beyond anything we can hope for or think. If we can just put up Galatians 4:4. But when the right time came, God sent his Son, born of woman, subject to the law. Born of woman, subject to the law. It had to be the right time. God was preparing the way for centuries, for millennia, all through the ages, for the very right time for his extravagant love to be personified. And then he came. And when he came, we received a wonderful inheritance. I want to share with you a story that those of you who went to Alpha probably have heard, although my version is a little bit different. But I'm just going to share it with you anyway. There was once a father who had a son that he loved very much. And the father had a lot of valuable paintings. And they used to go around the world together, the father and the son, collecting these paintings that they put up in the spacious home that they had. And one day the son was drafted and went to Vietnam to fight in the war. While he was away, the father decided that he would auction all of the paintings off. He just wanted to do that. And he was planning the auction when one day a young man came to his door and brought a picture that he had painted of the son, of the father's son. The son had already been told that the father. The father had already been told that the son had been killed. So he wasn't prepared for what this young man was going to say. The young man told him that the father's son had taken a bullet for him. And he was so grateful that he wanted to come and see this man and give him this beautiful picture that he had painted before this son died. So the auction went ahead. Everybody came. The crowd were enthusiastic and wanting to get the best paintings when the auctioneer brought out this painting of the man's son. He said, "Who wants to start the bid for this painting?" The crowd just roared and mocked. Who wants to buy a painting like that? They were angry and they just wanted to get on with it. But the auctioneer continued to ask for bids. He said, "This is what the owner has said. This painting must be auctioned first." So eventually, an older man right at the back said, "I'll bid $10. He said, "Are there any more bids? Who'll go higher?" The crowd just roared and said, "Not worth anything." And so the auctioneer said, "Sold," to the man at the back. And then they were all excited. "Let's get on with the real thing now." Then the auctioneer said, "The owner has said that whoever receives the son receives the lot." So he received this inheritance, and he was just a gardener. He was a gardener in the household who loved the son. And I think that that's amazing, that if you love the son, the father will give you everything. He will adopt you into his family. Real love like that, the God kind of love that we call agape love, is extravagant, unstoppable, and sacrificial. So we're going to read John 21, 15 to 17, also in the Passion Translation. John 21, 15. Are you able to get that any bigger? No? I'll turn around. After they had breakfast, Jesus said to Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you burn with love for me more than these?" Peter answered, "Yes, Lord, you know that I have great affection for you." "Then take care of my lambs," Jesus said. As Jesus repeated his question the second time, "Simon, son of John, do you burn with love for me?" Peter answered, "Yes, my Lord, you know that I have great affection for you." "Then take care of my sheep," Jesus said. Then Jesus asked him again, "Peter, son of John, do you have great affection for me?" Peter was saddened by being asked the third time and said, "My Lord, you know everything. You know that I burn with love for you." Jesus replied, "Then feed my lambs." We all know this story. After the resurrection, the disciples went fishing and Jesus was cooking fish on the beach for them, and he wanted to restore Peter. He knew what Peter was feeling inside. Peter had betrayed him, this Lord who had given everything for him. And as probably you all know, there are many words for love, many Greek words for love. Philia means the friendship kind of love, and the other three all have different meanings. But we know that Jesus was asking Peter if he really loved him with that extravagant God kind of love. Peter was using the affection or friendship kind. Yes, Jesus, you know I like you a lot and I love you, when we use that term fairly loosely. But Jesus wanted to hear what was really in his heart so that he could forgive and restore and bring him back to the place that he needed to be in order to cope with his Jesus going back to heaven and Peter leading this group of disciples to found the new church. And so they walked along the beach, and finally he said, "Yes, I love you," with that extravagant kind of love. I just wanted to tell you a little story to illustrate this in my own life. Some of you might remember my mother-in-law, Hans's mum. She was a very interesting, different kind of lady, but she was a very loving and lovable lady as well. Because she was German, she was a bit blunt sometimes and didn't usually show her feelings very well. And all through my marriage, until she went to be with the Lord in 2007, she would never tell me she loved me. I would always say, "I love you, Mum." And she'd say, "I like you too." And this was the only response that I ever got, a liking response, a friendship response. I had the privilege of leading her to the Lord. I can't remember the year, but a few years before she died anyway. And so she knew what God's love was all about and what he'd done for her. But every time I asked her or asked for her response, "I like you." So she went into hospital a few days before she passed away. And I was the last one to see her. I didn't know that she was going to die half an hour after I left the hospital. But I was in the hospital with her, and we were talking about things. We were talking about the fact that she needed a new heart. And I'd taken some chocolate hearts to her, and she thought that that was lovely because she liked chocolate. But eventually it was time to go. And I prayed with her, and then I said, "I love you, Mum." She said, "I love you too." That was so special. And when I went home, we had a call to say she'd just died. So I felt a bit guilty for a while. I thought if I didn't do anything or say anything to precipitate her death. But it's just such a beautiful memory that like went to love. And that's what happens when we have the extravagant love of God. We can go from liking people to truly loving people. Because a lot of people are hard to love, but when we love with the love of God, we can show the extravagant love of God. So just to end with, Christmas is a time to ponder the extravagant love of our Father and to make time for getting closer to the Son who was willing to become one of us to show us how much we loved. Remember, if we take the Son, we take the extravagant love of God, which we are then able to pass on to others. But if we want that extravagant love, if we want that kind of relationship with God, it requires a few things. It requires us to slow down, to be still, to live restfully, not the rushing about that probably some of us have experienced many years before Christmas, and maybe you've even got into it now. The parties have started, the shopping centres are becoming busy, and we kind of feel that frenetic need to go faster. Even though nobody tells you to, it just seems to happen. But we need to be still, and we might need to just say no to some of the festivities. You know, sometimes we feel like we've got to be at everything. We've got to be part of everything. But sometimes we have to say no, because sometimes the best thing you can do at Christmas is to spend more time worshipping God, listening to beautiful carols, decorating your house for sure because it gives a lovely atmosphere. But we need to be asking God, show me the one who needs me to show extravagant love. And some people like to ask extra people home for Christmas. And if you can do that, fine. If not, sometimes we just need to say to God, help me to look through your eyes into the eyes of someone at the shopping centre or a neighbour. Help me to see the hurt, the need, the rejection in their eyes, their need for love this Christmas. Help me to give the hug where it's needed. Help me to give the smile to someone at the shopping centre. Help me just to say something, to strike up a conversation that might enable you to give some encouragement to someone. This is how we do extravagant love. This is how we need to do Christmas, because this is what Christmas is about. So when you're shopping, when you're going about your business, just look into the eyes of someone and see what you see there. Are they joyful? Are they hurt? Are they rejected? Have one of their family just told them, I'm not coming for Christmas? And let's be the hands and the feet and the mouth of Jesus. Let's stand.